This right here is the MacBook Pro 2020 with the M1 chipset, and I've been using this MacBook for more than 1 year right now. Okay, in my video today, I am going to be telling you if it is what you're going for this year 2025. So that is 5 years since this MacBook has been released. We've had the M1 series, M2 series, M3 series, M4 series, and even this year we're going to be getting the M5 series. So does this MacBook still stand the test of time? And what has been my experience even using this MacBook this year? Okay, and if I probably want to upgrade and if you should just get this or probably move to a better one. Okay, all this I'll be answering on my video right here today. Okay, so before we get started, guys, can you give it a thumbs up if you love what you're about to hear? And one of my goal this year is to get to 50k subscribers, and I want you guys to help me out with that. So kindly smash that subscribe button below and turn on the bell notification icon. So when I create some movies like this, you guys will be the first to get notified, okay? And if you're seeing this MacBook over here, this is the MacBook Pro 2015, right? And I've actually also done a review about this, telling you if it's what you're going for this year, because I've actually used different MacBooks. In the past 3 years, I've used the 2015 MacBook Pro, I've used the M1, I've used the M1 Pro, I've used the M2, I've used the M3, I'm currently using the M4 Pro, which is behind me as my daily drive, right? So I will be talking about this, in respect to other MacBooks I've used. And even in my next video, I'm going to review kind of all the MacBooks I've kind of used, like the 2015 MacBook Pro, the M1, and also the M4 Pro behind me. So you can see, you know, how Apple has actually gone far in terms of the whole upgrade within 10 years, right? So without wasting much of your time, let us get started to, the design and the body build of this MacBook. So now one thing about Apple products is that their design actually very sleek, like it looks premium. Now forget about this whole stickers on this, MacBook, right? So when you hold this MacBook, first of all, it is slim, right? It is slim and it's actually very sleek. Like just look at how slim this is. Like just this is close and it's actually very easy to carry around. It is not so heavy. Okay, so if you're going for this MacBook today, after watching this video to the very end, right, just know that you can easily carry this MacBook around. Just if you want to hold it to your hand or probably put it in a small tote bag, you are good to go, right? But now there's a problem I have with this MacBook, and the problem is about the ports. So coming from the 2050 MacBook Pro and also jumping over to the M4 Pro, I don't like this MacBook. Now, why? So over here, I have just, my left hand side, I have just two USB-C ports, and my right hand side, I have the 3.5 mm headphone jack. But when I was using this, my 2050 MacBook Pro, because this is actually the very first MacBook Pro I started using, over here, I have the MagSafe charging, I have the Thunderbolt, I have the USB Type A, I have the 3.5 mm headphone jack, I have USB Type A, also I have HDMI, I have SD card slots. Look at how loaded this MacBook is. So when I move from this MacBook over to this M1, I have to get a dongle, right? And it was kind of frustrating because wherever I was going, I need to take my dongle with me. And if I at some point forgot my dongle, it means I cannot plug my hard drive. I could not, plug certain things, even my memory card after done, shooting to edit for you guys. So it has to be with me everywhere I'm going. Okay. And I think Apple noticed this whole problem and fixed it in the kind of the pro versions of all these whole chipsets, right? Like I'm talking about now the M1 Pro 16 inches, the M2 Pro 16 inches, the M3 Pro, even the M4 base model and the M3 base model all have, a good, ports on their system, right? So I think that's the downside of getting this MacBook this year. Okay, because you can actually use any of this port over here to charge the MacBook, but just know that you have limited ports, right? But if, let's say, for example, you're a student and you want to get this MacBook and you don't really care about most of all these ports, just for it to charge and probably listen to music and now do your whole old school stuff, then I'm not sure you should be worried about the ports. But for me, it was a big issue for me, right? Now, opening the laptop, opening the MacBook, right, you can actually see it makes use of a backlit keyboard, right? And also has this, touch bar and also this touch ID. So this touch bar, I really love using it when I was using this MacBook, right, as my daily drive, because it made typing easy for me, right? Whenever I type in, you can actually see emojis faster instead of going to, for example, now your WhatsApp, having to click on that emoji icon and looking for the emoji you use. Just swipe over here and you are seeing emojis, right? Even if you want to reduce the brightness of the MacBook, the audio, whatever, anything you want to do, unlike this, MacBook over here where you have just the buttons to increase and reduce the brightness, the pause and play if you're watching movies, the reduce and increase the audio, and even this whole power button, right? This was actually very smooth, right? And the Touch ID, serves as, your power button and also your fingerprint to unlock it if it is locked, right? And I kind of had a problem about this when Apple removed this in the M3 series and also in the M4 series, and a lot of people complain about this because why why did you remove this feature, which is actually very cool? But I guess they had their reasons, right? Now, one thing about the design of this MacBook is that from 2016 series, right, up until 2022, okay, they all use the same kind of body build, right? Kind of design look, right? You cannot actually tell an M1 from an M2, an M1 from 2019 MacBook and even 2016 MacBook, right? If they are put side by side without you having to check, the whole specs of the MacBook. Okay, so while it feels like this design is actually since 2016, that is almost 10 years right now, right? But regardless of when it was released, it is still a good and solid design. Now for the display, so I actually use this MacBook because I am actually a video editor. After shooting my video, I edit it myself, right? And I watch movies. I do a lot of things with the whole display of this MacBook, right? And it's actually very the color quality, the color accuracy, actually still very good even as at this year. Okay, this is a 13.3-inch MacBook. Everything about the whole quality when you're doing anything on this MacBook is actually very cool. Okay, and even compared to most laptops released this year, this I can actually stand in terms of the whole display, right? So you have nothing to worry about if you are going to use this MacBook for, even if it's just to watch movies, play games, even though MacBook is not a gaming laptop, right? Yeah, I'll come to that. Okay, and practically every other thing, this is going to give you the best video quality. But let me know what you think of this quality as you see on your screen. If it's still cool, or you're going to check out my next video. Like I said, the way I'm going to compare the 2015, 2020, and the 2024, side by side, so you can see the level of upgrade within the past 9 years. Okay, now for the webcam and audio. So both the 2015 MacBook Pro and 2020, they both use 720p. While this is actually better than the 2015 MacBook Pro. However, if you're getting this MacBook, I will suggest you kind of probably get, you can use your phone as a webcam if you're going to be making doing a lot of, Google Meets, Zoom, or whatever Meets, right? You can use your phone as a webcam or probably get a proper lighting before you kind of go on that meeting, because without good lighting, the camera quality is just there, right? You can let me know in the comment section what you think of the camera quality as I see on your screen. Yes, I'm going to do this with proper lighting and without proper lighting, so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And now for the audio, this actually has stereo sound, and it is Dolby Atmos certified. So it means the audio quality I get from this MacBook is actually very like strong, like very durable. Okay, so if you're watching movies or you're even editing videos, right, you can actually get the best audio quality from this MacBook. So you have nothing to worry about. And you can actually use the 3.5 mm headphone jack to connect your earpiece and it still gets good audio quality if you edit or use a headphone for any reason. So let's move on to the next one, which is the performance. Now, from the name alone, like I said, this is the MacBook Pro 2020 with the M1 chipset. Now, this M1 chipset is actually the very first Apple made chipset. MacBooks before the M1, right? The chipset being used, the processor being used was made by Intel Core. Okay, and from this one, MacBook said no, they will start making their own chipset by themselves, right? And as of 2020, when it was released, this was actually one of the most powerful chipsets on any laptop. Right? Trust me, this is actually still very strong. I will come to the performance when I'm using this laptop to edit, right? Because I feel in terms of anything on a system, editing is one of the heaviest things you can do alongside gaming. Again, since MacBook is not built for games, then we have to stick to editing, right? So with the M1 chipset, this has an 8 GB and 2 SSD. Okay, while this was able to edit, you know, all my videos I shoot in 4K, 2K, 1080p, right? On CapCut and even Premiere Pro. In the long run, I noticed that my Premiere Pro started, hanging when I'm kind of editing, right? Yeah. So if you're an editor going for this MacBook, then I'm going to tell you that in the long run, the first few months, is smooth and everything, but the more power you put on this laptop, you're going to notice it's going to be, you know, going to be kind of hanging. I'm talking about Premiere Pro now. But if you're a CapCut user, or let's say use other light editing software, right, you kind of notice it is still going to handle it better. Okay. But if you're going for this laptop for solely editing, why it is actually a good one, because I still even use it to edit as of today, right? To get the best out of this MacBook or any MacBook at all, I would advise you go for a MacBook with at least 16 gig RAM and even a bigger, storage, bigger SSD. Because one thing I noticed about, MacBooks, even phones as a whole, what is going to make your phone, MacBook, or any device you have hang, lag, or even overheat? This is just, one thing out of others, right? Is if your storage is filled up. Okay, so before I got my drive, once my MacBook got filled up, right, I noticed that it started hanging. You understand? At some point, it started tripping up by itself, just restart by itself, and I knew I had to really go and get a drive, okay, to transfer most of my files over there so that it can, breathe. Yes, and you're going to notice when you are editing, let's say on Premiere Pro or exporting, you can hear the fan blowing so it can cool the laptop because it's going to be getting kind of quite hot. Okay, and I think that is that for the performance. It can handle your day-to-day tasks you can think of for any manual, but for editing, heavy editing, it will just take some bit of it, and at some point, you're going to notice the heat. All right. So I think that is it for the performance. Now to the next one, which is the battery and charging. So Apple says, on their website, right, this is going to last you around 17 to 20 hours usage, right? But I got this MacBook used, and whenever I get something used, it means someone has used this before you. Just like our iPhones where we have the battery capacity, this also has the battery capacity. Okay. And if you're getting this MacBook this year, you cannot see it as 100% battery capacity. Okay, which means it's not going to last as long as a brand new MacBook 2020 is going to last. Now, but regardless, this can last you about 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, you know, kind of with maybe heavy usage around 2, 3, 4 hours, right? Okay, depending on what you're using the MacBook to do. Because the more power you put on this MacBook, you know, you know, the faster it kind of dies in terms of the battery. Okay, and for the charging, this charge is actually very fast. I think within a little above 1 hour, 2 hours, from 0 to 100%. So for the battery charging, this is still durable as of this year, 2025. Now for the software update, every year Apple releases, new macOS, right? And even this year, the M1 is going to be getting the latest macOS, right? I don't think they've given it a name, but we are kind of seeing macOS 56, right? This is going to take it because as of last year, it's able to take the whole macOS Sequoia or something like that, right? Yes, and it means all those AI features that came out, this MacBook had it. And this year, those features for the macOS 26 or whatever is going to be named is still going to be getting it. So in terms of getting an updated MacBook, you are on the right one for this. So I've talked about practically everything on this MacBook, the design and body build, why I like it and why I don't like it because of the ports and the rest of them. I'm talking about the battery, the speaker, the keyboard, the Touch ID, and the rest of them. Now let's talk about the price. So currently, you cannot say this is a MacBook brand new. This is like 5 years and they don't produce anymore. I think even since 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they stopped producing it. So you can only get it used. I know the price you can get it for used, if you're Nigerian, is around 1 million naira. Yes, 1 million. You might see that around maybe 900K, you might see that around 1.1, some see that around, 1 million on dots, right? It all depends on the SSD you are going for and the RAM because, the M1 have it's the 8 gig RAM, and I think it also has, either to go for the 256 gig SSD or the 512 gig SSD, right? So depending on what you're going for, we can determine the exact price is going to be and also the vendor you are getting it at. Okay, but around 1 million naira range, you're going to get this MacBook. If I look at the price and you know, other kind of pieces released this year, I think this is actually still a good buy. Honestly, it still serves you very well. All around, even the performance is still a good one. Okay, so if you're looking for something, a good MacBook, which is updated and just to do your day-to-day activities and even a little bit more of performance, then this MacBook is a good one for you to go for. But let's say you're thinking of a MacBook to go for like you're an heavy editor, like a video editor, right? Then I don't really think you should be thinking of this one, and you just need to add up some money to probably go for the M1 Pro. Okay, I made a review about the M1 Pro. I think is on my channel. I'm going to maybe put the screenshot right here. And because like I said, I've used series of MacBooks to edit, okay, and go for the M1 Pro. Probably go for the 16-inch version of this M1. Now, one thing about MacBooks is that whenever Apple releases 13-inch, they also release the 16-inch. The 16-inch have more performance capabilities than the 13 inches or even the 14 inches, which is their recent MacBooks release now. Okay, so if you're a heavy editor and you're still on the budget, go for the 16-inch. But why I don't like 16-inch MacBooks is that it's actually long. It is big. So it's not easy to carry around, right? And I am kind of a person who I move around a lot, even though I'm not a remote worker, right? But I see once I go here, and always with my MacBook, and just with just small bag, this is already there. But 16-inch is going to be a bit longer and heavy to carry around, yeah. So just let me know in the comment section if you are going to be going for it this year, or you just go for something else. Okay, and like I said in my next video, I will be telling you guys how far MacBook has gone, Apple has gone within the past 9 years. So don't forget to check out my next video after this one. All right, and I'll see you guys over there.